Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Lions Den Sport Podcast. Very pleased to have down Adil Hussain. He's come down from Dubai, right?
Yeah, based in Dubai.
Based in Dubai,
that's right.
Based in Dubai.
Thanks
coming
for
down.
having me, Terry.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for coming down. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
All the great stuff you're doing in the community. We just spoke before. Really pleased to have you on and hear a little bit more about what it is that's going in your background. Yeah. Now, just tell us a little bit more about yourself as well. About your upbringing.
Yeah.
I think you said you were born up in East London. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
So yeah, I'm a boy from East London. You know, they say you can take the boy out of East London, but you can't take the East London out of the boy. That's me through and through. So yeah, grew up in Manor Park, East London.
Nice.
Went to school there. You know, it's not the prettiest of neighbourhoods, but you know, it's where I was raised. Did all my schooling there. College was in Essex, in Havering, which was good fun. And then university, which was at a place called SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies.
Where's that?
So it's in London, Russell Square. So University of London. And I'll just talk a bit about that, if I may, because we're talking about the community and how, you know, all of, as Asian communities, what we're about and how we should support it. But the reason I went to SOAS was because I was going to do a law degree, right? But with SOAS, the law degree that they offered was like none other. So my law degree comprised of law and society in South Asia. I did comparative commercial law in the Middle East. I did my dissertation, my final year, on dowry problem in South Asia. You know, so you could do law with a lot of stuff that was close to home. You know, so I really had a fun degree. Ended up with a first class as well, mind you. So,
did you?
Yeah. And if you want to take it a step back, at my A-levels, I got the highest A-level law mark in the whole of England and Wales. So, yeah, I wasn't the brainiest, don't get me wrong. I'm not a genius or anything like that. But, you know, I just enjoyed law, I think, and that made me excel in it.
Yeah. There's more to it, just enjoying it. I think it comes with a lot of hard work as well.
100%. And, you know, it's funny because, and I say it to my kids now because I've gone through it. A lot of our youngsters, and I feel really old when I say that, but they don't appreciate how important education is and how important it is just to give it 100%. So, look, I went to a pretty normal state school, right? Quite rough in the sense that, you know, you're lucky to get home without getting into a fight or getting into trouble. I wasn't about that, but I wasn't the most studious as well. And I remember, you know, doing my GCSEs and studying the night before for my exams. And I did all right. I got, you know, all A's and B's and whatever. But I knew afterwards, if I had studied and if I had the guidance of someone who was, you know, when I was that age, I could have got all A's, no problem. Anyone can if you work hard and you understand the importance of it.
Did your family push you towards education?
No, not really. No. I mean, Dad worked in Ford Motor Company, and you know was. Came from Pakistan in the 60s, just trying to come here for a better life. Yeah. He didn't push towards education, but he did say to me and to all of us, I've got a brother and 3 sisters, and he used to do his night shifts and going at 10 p.m. at night, coming back 6 a.m., you know, and he used to say to all of us, you know, if you don't want to do this, you better study hard. But that was as far as it went, you know. But we didn't listen, right? So, we were young kids. And also, maybe again, the penny drops at different stages in your life, right, as you evolve. So even, to be honest, when I was doing my A-levels, did my GCSEs, did all right, went on to college to do A-levels, but, you know, wasn't, again, so studious. And in my second year, I didn't end up doing my A-levels that year. I sort of just dropped out of college because my mum had a stroke, quite a severe one, the day before Eid. And like I was, you know, long story short, Dad was working, brother was at uni, sisters had their own things going on. Mum was in hospital on her own. And like I remember seeing her one evening after college or whatever, and you know, she was, you know, she's a typical Pakistani, you know, woman, right? From Pakistan. English wasn't great before the stroke, but after stroke, she couldn't, you know, she lost a lot of her speech. And I remember going in and she's just waiting and almost, you know, to go to the bathroom. And because she couldn't communicate, she was just waiting. And that, you know, as a son, right, you know, it was hard to take. And I just thought, I can't leave her like this. So I thought, stuff A-levels, I'm not going to do them. And I was literally, you know, 9 till 6 or whatever at the hospital with my mum. And when Dad could come after work, he used to come. And my brother could come, they could come. So, I just spent that time with her to try to help her in her recovery and be there for her. And it's funny because in hindsight, if I had done my A-levels that year, I wouldn't have done very well. I wasn't studying. I wasn't about it, But when I didn't do the A-levels that year, when you go back into college and all your mates have gone, right?
Yeah.
And it's a new crowd and they're sort of younger than you and you sort of got a chip on your shoulder. I shouldn't be here and I can't mess up. I can't, usually in my head it was like, if I mess up, I can do resits. That's what the mentality was, right? But I haven't done I've already lost a year. I can't not perform now. And then on top of that, I ended up getting married as well in that December. So, whilst I was doing my A-levels.
What age was this?
I was 19. Yeah. So again, like we were talking, I'm quite a desi guy, right?
Yeah.
And I knew, focus, right? For me, I had to be focused. So I was studying hard. I always thought I wanted to get married young, right? Maybe not as young as 19, but went to Pakistan. My wife's from Pakistan, met her. The Desi culture is sort of arranged, right? So we had a few meetings, and before we had our nikah with the marriage ceremony done, and I'm back in the UK, and I'm like, okay, back to college. But when you're married, and within our culture, you're not only marrying your wife, you're marrying the whole family. It's what we call, basically if you mess up as well. So I had a lot, not pressure, but I wanted to do well because I knew now I had other responsibilities and I didn't want to lose face in front of my wife or my in-laws and her family. So that really pushed me to study really hard to the extent I was, I don't know if you've seen these law textbooks, but there's a book called Cheshire and I memorized the whole book. So, I talked about my A-level result. When I was doing my A-level law exam, you have 4 questions, right? I think it might have changed that, but 4 essay questions, and you have 16 pages. So you're spending 4 pages per question. I wrote about 60 sides in 3 hours. So my hand was dead. I was like, hand up more paper, and everyone's looking at me. What's this guy doing? I made afterwards, my mates were saying, the people who were around me saying, you were making us really nervous, thinking, what are you doing? You eating the paper or what? But I really worked hard for that paper in particular because I enjoyed it as well, and I worked hard. So this was just work ethic that I think probably I got from my dad. So married at 19, working, doing your A-levels, but on top of that I was holding down part-time jobs. So my first job was probably at 11 doing a paper round. I think everyone in East Ham or Manor Park did that round, right, for a bit of pocket change. Then my first proper job was when I was 15, and I was doing night shifts as well in a factory. Sort of, this is pure labour job, right? Because again, when I was 15, studying wasn't a priority. It was get a bit of extra cash so you can get a McDonald's, go to the cinema without asking your dad, for the money, even though he would have given it. Don't get me wrong, but we've got a bit of.
You get a little bit older, you don't want to ask.
You know
for
what I
money.
mean? Yeah. So I was doing that since I was 15, and then I upgraded. By the time I was at uni, I was really upgraded, and I was at John Lewis. But I always had that graft in me from an early age, and like we were saying before, never want to do anything half-heartedly. Don't like wasting time. So, like now I've got kids, I've got 3 of them. I don't think they've ever worked summer holidays, Christmas holidays with me. Uni finishes or college is finished, right, you start work and you 6 weeks, any overtime you can get.
Yeah.
It was always about doing something.
Well, you had a why to do it, right? As you said, you got married quite young.
Yep.
19, so it wasn't just providing for you now.
Yeah.
For your wife. And as you said, that respect that you had to gain from her family as well. So you had your why, as they say, and you always need that why to need to do something, and that seemed to find it at that age.
100%. And it could have gone the other way, right? Because I could have got really distracted by being married. So when I was at uni, even though I'd done really well at my A-levels, there was times where, my first son was born in the second. I just finished my second year of uni, and I had a kid.
Is that your first son?
My first son, yeah. It's the oldest one, right? So I remember, you're a student, right? But thank God we didn't have to pay uni fees and things like that. But I was still doing the John Lewis and all of that. And I remember, not having much money at all, living at home. So, dad and mum and dad were looking after me in the sense of no rent, no expenditure like that. But you still got responsibilities. And I remember saying to my wife, bless her, I think I wanted to jack this uni stuff in. I'm at John Lewis. and 15, 20 grand a year. They just, let me just do that full time. Got a kid coming and she said, nah, look, just hang in there, you know, keep it going and it'll come, just stick to uni and, you know, it'll get better. And those were wise words, you know, from a wise woman, I guess. So I'm glad I just stuck at it. But that was my why. And when my son was born, then it was like, yeah, I can't mess around. You know, when you see a little someone, because again at uni first year I was getting thirds. Can you believe it? Like I wasn't studying hard because I was married. You know, all I wanted to do was go home to my wife. You know, and everyone's out doing what they're doing, and I'm like, nah, sorry, I'm going home. And you know, they thought I was the most boringest person at uni. And when my son was born, it was even more of a distraction. But I was really fortunate. I've got to give a mention to my professor. And you know, sometimes God works in mysterious ways and all that, right? So I actually started off doing a history degree and then changed to law because of this one professor, Professor Menski. I started off doing history, found that the course wasn't for me, right? Yeah. Even though I loved law, I don't know why I did history. I think it was because my brother was doing law, my sister was, you know, doing law, and I thought I want to do something different. But I should have known, you know, there's a reason we're all attracted to law. It's in our genes. Yeah. But anyway, after a month of doing history, I tried to change. And I remember having a conversation with the head of the law department, you know, the professor then, saying, listen, I've done the wrong thing. I'm not enjoying the history degree course. Can I switch to law? And he just said, you've passed the deadline, mate. You know, there's nothing we can do now. It's too late.
There's a cut-off date, isn't it?
There's a cut-off date, yeah, exactly. So there was a man, you know, behind me sort of looking. I'm thinking, what's he looking at? Nosy, you know, person. What's he want? And anyway, afterwards, he heard all this and he pulled me up and he says, Adil, you want to do law? You will do law. I didn't even know him. He didn't know who I was. And he just said to me, you want to do law? You will do law. Took down my details and all that. Next thing you know, I've got an email saying you've been accepted onto the law course. Amazing. So now I'm thinking, okay, wow, right. So I picked his modules. I thought he's a good guy, right? And he was actually teaching the courses that I enjoyed. So he's the one who taught law and society in South Asia and was my professor, supervised my dissertation. So we're in this law lecture doing, you know, I think legal pluralism and how, you know, in different cultures there's different laws and there's state law and local laws, religious laws and all this. And we're all messing around in the back, right? And this guy says, Kya bol rahe ho? Chup karke baitho. This is an English guy. And we were like, where did that come from? But yeah, lovely, lovely guy. And when I was getting my thirds, he pulled me up and he says, what's going on? You're better than this. Wow. And I explained to him that I just got married and, you know, got distracted, got commitments. I'm working in the evenings. And then when my son was being born, I said, you know, I've got a son now. And bless him, you know, he was married to an Indian lady. And he knew the culture, he knew all of it. And it clicked. So when my son was born, he gave me an envelope with £20 in it. Because that's what Desis do, right? Wow. And brought Matai as well. Lovely guy. But in terms of fixing me up, he says, Adil, right, you're working. Stop that. Don't work on the Saturday, Sunday night. You're going to work for me. And he was doing expert reports on various marriage law cases and things like that. And he said, Adil, you do the reports. And he paid me for it. Better than what I was getting paid at John Lewis. And he says to me, this is how I want you to do it. And, you know, gave me the structure and everything. And I really enjoyed that as well. And then I now knew how to structure reports. Writing an essay was a piece of cake. So from that experience and him investing in me, he didn't need to pay me, or he invested in me, paid me for it as well, just took me under his wings. And then my grades just started improving to the extent my second year I was on for 2-1. I got a job, my training contract, as lawyers do, solicitors do, before I graduated. And then in my final year, now I knew exactly what I was doing. It was like, you know, when you're in the home straight, it was like clockwork. And then I just picked up and I got, you know, all first, and then overall got a first in my degree. So.
Why do you think he spotted you out of everyone else in the class? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm a big believer in, like, you know, God and prayers and your mum's prayers, because, you know, when I didn't do my levels, when my mum found out, she was in tears saying, you wasted a year, and she prayed a lot for my success and, you know, God give me this and that. So I'm a firm believer in that. It comes from God, and God just put this person there for me as a conduit to do really, really well. Because there was nothing, I don't think there was anything special about me. I was just, you know, one of those kids. He just spotted me. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I was just very, very fortunate, I think, and blessed to have someone like that, you know, to take me under his wings. And, you know, it could have been anyone, but he chose me, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw something in some of the bits that I don't know. Yeah. But he's a really, really lovely man. Lovely man. Got a lot of
it definitely sounds it. It's hard to find people like that want that want to do the best for you without getting something back.
Nothing
if that
in
makes
return.
sense.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
teaching is one of those rare sort of fields that actually gives that, right? And
Yeah.
coaching, I would say.
Yeah,
quite
100%.
a
You're
bit,
giving something, as you say, like, time is a commodity for these people. They've academics and they've got their own family. Well, who am I, just to take me and do it? So yeah, hats off to him, and he didn't want anything in return.
Yeah.
But when I got my first, I was the only one that year as well who got it. And I kid you not, there was almost a tear in his eye. We were really, really
gone
close
from a third
to a first, and he took a lot of pride. I took a lot of pride. I was really proud, but I think he was proud, and I was even prouder, not for myself, but for him as well, because he sort of just, as I said, backed me. So yeah, bless him. Yeah, we stayed in touch for a while. I haven't been in touch for a long time now, but yeah, after when I started work, I took him out, nice present when I graduated. I was working for Thomas Pinkton, so it was shirt and tie,
Really?
And then when I started work, we had dinner. We had lunch as well, and he was talking about how he's about to try. He's got 2 lovely boys as well. We were all hotshot lawyers as well, so yeah.
I just want to really quickly touch base on, because you mentioned the importance of education. A lot of people don't understand that. Why? Like, why is education important?
For me, maybe there was no other options, right? I think what's important, I say education because that's the path I went down. Yeah. But if you're choosing to do something, you've got to do it properly. So don't say you're studying and then don't study. Like with boxing or any sports, I told you my cricketing story, right? I loved cricket. I loved boxing and football, but I ended up playing cricket for club level and at school. And I think as a Desi, right, that's the natural sort of sport, and dad gets it, the community gets it. So at school, I was a school captain. I was going out, I was knocking, 40s, 50s and taking wickets and thinking I'm the man, I started playing for my local club, Ilford Cricket Club, and done all right there as well. And then I got asked or put forward for Essex County trials, right? And I'm thinking, this is when Pakistan had won the 1992 World Cup and all this. So I've got this Imran Khan and Shahid Afridi's burst on the scene and all of this. So I'm thinking I could, do something like that. You have these dreams, right?
Yeah.
But when I went for trials with Essex Cricket County.
Hey, how old were you at this age?
I was 16. So I was just before A-levels, during my GCSEs, that sort of year, where I thought I was good, right? So I get to Essex County trials, and I used to bowl these crazy in-swingers. The ball used to move God knows how, right? I don't know why and how, but I used to take a lot of wickets at school and club level. But I get to county, and I'm bowling my fastest. I was a medium pacer, but swinging. And the guys are just, knocking me left, right, centre for 6 and 4s. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see what I can do with the bat. I get to bat, and the ball's gone before I've even taken a shot, or my wickets are falling. And it clocked for me there that, leave cricket to the recreational club level school. I'm not going to make it. I wasn't good enough. So then my focus came on education. So because I knew I wasn't going to be good at anything else, I knew maybe education was the way forward. And having education is something that no one can ever take away from you, right? So it's always, you're going to have your qualifications. They may not come in handy at all, because I've known people who've got loads of qualifications and then say stuff that I'm opening up a barber shop or a restaurant or going into something completely different. So I think the importance is not necessarily education. It's doing something, like we're going to come on to boxing and sports and arts, drama, whatever you're going to do it properly. Give it 110%. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Because if I didn't get the grades I got, if I didn't do so well at uni, didn't prepare the way I prepared for interviews, I wouldn't have had a job at the firm I applied for, and then my career wouldn't have developed the way it has prepared. So it's just about giving 110% and acknowledging that if you're going to do something, do it properly. Otherwise, you're just going to cheat yourself, and you're probably not going to succeed.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's funny you said that. I did a degree in IT.
Oh, okay.
And then I did a master's in sports management.
Oh, wow, okay.
But instead, I chose to get punched in the head for a living for like 10 years. So they didn't really come in much handy doing that. But no, you're right. It's a sense of achievement, right?
Yeah, and you've got a fallback as well, I would like to think. So, whatever happens, you've got no one can take that qualification away from you, right? It's with you for the rest of your life. So there's value in that, I think.
100%. And you said the importance of your kids going through that process.
Yeah, again, look, it's kids are doing well. They've gone at good unis, but it's the path that they've chosen. If they were good at anything else, any kind of thing, they'd probably...
They're good at sport?
It runs in the family. They think they are, but they're not very good at anything. They all play a bit of everything, right? But they always say, Dad, but especially my middle one, Yahya, he's like, oh, well, should have been a footballer. I'm like, you eat burgers and chips, you're not training and whatever. And we ain't about that. There's a lot of what I'm finding out in all sports, but certainly in boxing and combat sports, the discipline is sort of next level, I think, and you will know that much better than myself. You can't say you're going to do X, Y, and Z and then go off and have a drink here and there, or take a day off or eat that bad burger or the pizza. It doesn't work, right? So you've got to have something about you to go down that route. My kids haven't got that.
We're going to touch base on sport, but I'm quite interested to find out, after you left uni, you said you worked in a law firm.
Yeah.
You're qualified lawyer at this point?
No. So after uni, you do 1 year of law school.
Yeah.
So by the time I finished law school, I had 2 kids, 2 boys. So started work, married with 2 boys, and coming from the East End and going into a city law firm. The firm I went to was a mid-sized firm. So having had that first, having had the opportunity to work for some of the, what we call the magic circle, the biggest global firms, when I went there for open days, and you speak to the trainees who, the position I would have been if I joined, and the first question I asked to these trainees were, what the hours like, because you hear these horror stories about law firms and how hard and long hours they work, right? And the response I got from these big firms was, we sort of work pretty hard, sometimes leaving at 11, sometimes all night, and sometimes the weekends, but it's great quality work. And I was like, I don't care how good the work is, I'm not doing that. I want to be with my wife and my kids, and it wasn't for me. So I chose to go to a firm which was smaller, and I thought the hours would be more regular. I did law school and then started work in the city in Cannon Street as a mid-sized city firm. And the hours weren't bad, to be fair.
What were the sort of hours that you do in a law back then?
So at that sort of firm, a small to mid-sized firm, it was quite standard. So you're in at 9, you're out at 6:30, 7 o'clock, chairs are swinging. The other firms I'm talking about, where sort of firms I'm at now, and my career ended up that way, it was all night, it was every weekend, it was... And I'll go into it, the sacrifices, right, where you need to do in terms of what I was talking about. I'm a workaholic. I cannot work. If I'm on the weekend, if it's on holidays, it's always work. So in my first job, it wasn't like that. If I'm honest, there was no Blackberries or phones with emails, right? So you go to work in the morning, you do what you're doing, and then at 6:30 you're ready to go home, and there's no phones and emails coming. So I had an evening, you had your weekend because no one could contact you. No, didn't give our mobile numbers out or anything like that. But I think very quickly I realized, or I felt that the city life wasn't for me. I was the only brown face in that firm.
Really?
Right? So
how did you fit in that culture?
It was a struggle, man. It was a real struggle, if I'm honest. Because look, I'm a kid from East London, working class, fam, I didn't know what city life was about. So I'll give you one example of naivety, I guess. So it's cold, right? It's December. It's always freezing in the UK, right? So it's December. I've got a shirt from, I don't know, you're probably too young to remember, but back in the day we had CNA. Don't know if you remember. It's like not quite Primark, but not quite Marks and Spencer. Something in between, right?
Okay.
So you get a white shirt for about 15 quid or something, right? But it's a shirt that if you wear it, you need to wear a vest underneath or something underneath, or otherwise it's see-through completely. So this is December, it's cold. I'm wearing a T-shirt underneath this shirt, and it's a printed shirt. You can see the logos or whatever's on it, right?
Wow.
Because I'm thinking, I'm cold, I just want to stay warm. And I'm so naive. I go into the office with the tie on, with my shirt and suit on, and everyone's looking through my shirt thinking, what the hell are you wearing underneath, right? And the partner, he pulls me up, he says, what the hell are you wearing? And I said, what? I'm cold. Honestly, I'm wearing a T-shirt underneath because I'm cold. That was my response. It's only as you get into city life that you realize, you know what? The suit you wear, the shirt you wear, how you're pointed your shoes are or not, it all matters.
Really?
Wow. So this was all new to me, right? So that was on the cultural side of a working class kid working in city with quite some privileged people, right? So most of the other trainees, Oxford, Cambridge, Durham, Exeter, it was all of that. I was the only one from SOAS, which was a good uni, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't one of the elite ones. But more than just the fitting inside of it, as a brown person, someone who was finding religion, I had found religion. I didn't drink, right? I went to pilgrimage, I started growing out the beard, and, everything in the city back I'm talking 20 years ago, is different now. The socializing was all around alcohol, so the business development events were wine tasting events. And sorry, I'm not going to do that. When you Friday night drinks, sorry, it's not me. I'm not going to do that. So I'm seeing my other peers having a whole lot of banter with the supervising partners, the seniors, and they're all really straight with me. Why? I'm good at my job, but I haven't got a relationship with them because I haven't seen them outside of work. They don't know anything about me. So I struggled with that.
Fitting in,
And then
yeah.
one example, one sort of thing, standout moment for me, which made me actually resign, was, I started growing my beard out, right? And it was new to the firm as well, right? They weren't used to it. I hadn't joined with the beard, so after programming, I came out with a beard and like, okay, what's this about? A fire alarm went off, right? And everyone's got to convene at a certain place outside the building. I was a bit late, so everyone's there. I sort of join everybody, and a senior partner, about 55 years old, the typical pinstripe braces, you can imagine, right? Says in front of everybody, "Oh, Adil, we thought your beard had got caught on fire." All right, and I'm not going to say it was racist because I pulled him up afterwards, but it made me feel that small
In front of everyone.
These are my peers and seniors, right? I'm all for banter. Anyone who knows me, I can give it as good as I take it, right? But it just wasn't appropriate. So I pulled him up. I said, Chris, I mentioned his name, Chris. Look, I'm all one for having a joke and banter, but you know what? Not in front of my peers. No one laughed. It was awkward for everybody. This was after 9/11 as well, mind you, just recently after 9/11.
Okay.
So you can imagine it's a sensitive time, right? And he, in fairness, apologized profoundly, said, "Oh, I'm really, really sorry." So I can't say it was a racist thing, but maybe it was subconscious. Or, there was something. He shouldn't have made that remark, full stop.
No, it's funny you said that because I had a similar experience about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I haven't shared this before. I went for a job interview in a recruitment firm just as I left. It was just before I was going out to do my master's, actually.
Right.
And the first thing they asked me was, "We don't know if you fit into the culture." Yeah, we
Wow.
don't know how you pray because you pray 5 times a day.
Yeah, yeah.
They had
Wow.
that illusion that I was from the Muslim background and stuff
yeah.
like that, and that made me think
Wow.
like, wow, like this is what people think straight away, and that's how it
How long ago was this?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay, so still, I was talking 20 years, and I
20
thought
years
things had got better, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's not that
So
far.
I
Gosh.
decided I was lucky just after that. I got the job, but then 2 weeks later I got a sports scholarship at the university.
Oh, brilliant.
So I managed to come back here and do training here. But it just made me realise I was in that culture, what people really would have thought. And
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because if you're in that, even you could be the best, at your job, but if you're not fitting in, you're going to be miserable, right?
100%.
And I was, so I resigned, and I was going to go to a local firm in East London. It was probably an Indian firm owned by Indian partners, right? So there's 5 of them. And I thought I'm going to work with Upbringing. There's people who understand. It was an Indian-owned firm, but some Muslims there and white people. It was more
Good.
multi-cut. So I thought, let me do that. I'm glad I didn't in the end. So when I handed my resignation, another partner sort of said, "Why are you going for?" And I was quite honest, right? I played with the straight bat all the time. I was like, "Look, I just don't think I fit in." Had an open conversation. I said, "Right, Adil, you're not going here." And he ripped up my resignation. He knew that I was probably too good for that sort of firm. Again, not being, big-headed about it, but he just looked at the CV and thought, "No, you're not going there." And then he took me under his wing almost, I spent a bit more time with him, got to know him a bit more. Still didn't do the drinking and all that. But, when you know now that it was too late, I stayed on, but I was like, I've got to get out. And that's when I started thinking about moving to the Middle East. And thinking, Middle East is Muslim environment. Very multicultural there as well, right? Yeah. So, but you can just live and let live. You've got white people, brown, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Jew, everyone, just a proper melting pot. And no one's going to bat an eyelid if I'm going to go off and do my prayers, or if I'm not going to drink, because everyone just do that. So I started applying for jobs in the Middle East, and went out to Bahrain in 2005.
Pretty early on, when it still would have been like sand, wouldn't it? It still would have been pretty much nothing there, right?
Yeah, Bahrain, man. It's a small island, right?
Yeah.
You can see the whole of Bahrain in about 45 minutes. It was developed, but it wasn't what it is now, and not what Dubai is. It was quite raw, some high rises, but it was going through a phase of development. But Bahrain was crazy, because you go out there. As a relatively young lawyer, and I transitioned from being a property lawyer to being a banking lawyer. Okay. So something new for me, right? But I loved it. As I said, I felt I could go to the mosque and no one's going to say my beard got long. I went through phases, right? So the beard got even longer. No one's batting an eyelid. Brilliant experience. I learned a lot there.
In what way?
So let me give you an example. So we're there now, right? If you go to a mall, for example, right? I was on my own. I spent 7 months on my own. I can't cook to save my life, right? I can't cook. I just take outs and whatever.
Yeah.
You go on the weekend as a single person, single male. I can't go into the mall to get food because weekend is for families only. Right,
Okay.
so I remember going in and my first time and going trying to get into the mall, and I can't speak Arabic, right? So the security guy's saying, "No, you can't come, you can't." I was like, "I just want to eat. I just want to get some food," and the guy's like, "Go to KFC over there." And I'm trying to be healthy. I'm like, and I couldn't get in because he said it's for families only. And then my family's there now, and made it easier a bit so you can go into the malls, but there's not a lot to do, right? So if you go to a restaurant, for me, eating out is not only about the food; it's about the whole ambience, right? But if you're on your own as a male, you've got to go where all the men are, and the family's on one side. If I'm with my family, you're basically in a cubicle like this. It's all shut off. You can't see anything else. You can't, you're just, it's like it's a bit claustrophobic. You're not enjoying the whole vibe, you're locked up. What else was it? There wasn't a lot to do. So, with kids, who are growing up and all of this kind of stuff, swimming. Once you're 13, you can't go into the female pools because culturally it's not the thing. Women have their own swimming pools, for example, and men have their own. So my boys, love swimming, right? They're 13. They can't go with mummy. They can't come in with daddy because you've got to be over 18 to go into the men's pool. So there wasn't a lot to do for them, on the business side now, right? When I'm dealing with clients at banks and a lot of them are Saudis, they're lovely. I didn't go in with "Assalamu alaikum, brother." No, they're not going to respect that. You go in as a lawyer and you say, "Right, my name's Adil Hussain. I'm here. How can I help you?" Straight business talk. None of this brotherly. They're not into that at all.
Into that, no.
If you're good at your job, you get respect. Like you were talking about when you were doing boxing, how your father made his name, right? You hold your own, right, in the ring, and you perform, right, and you get the respect from here. A different community. Here, it was like I've got to show them that I know my shit when it comes to law documents, negotiation. And then that's where you belong. And I was, I wouldn't say I befriended my clients and Saudi clients, but they respected me as a lawyer.
Wow.
So that Saudi was an interesting experience. It's still, to my mind now, it's the engine room of the Middle East, right? That's where the money is.
In Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I mean, you look at him from a professional services provider, whether you're a lawyer, accountant, whatever. That's the place to be, I think. There's so much money. There's the development and the projects they've got going on. Nothing less than $17 billion. I kid you not. It's just crazy.
Wow, yeah.
Look at the money they're throwing in at boxing, right? They've got this 2030 vision. So anyway, Saudi was great for me. You get used to these things, right? And then it's not so bad. I'll give you 2 examples, but I'm thick-skinned as well, right? And there's other instances, but you just get used to it. Professionally, it was brilliant because after a year of being at my firm, I got promoted to being a partner.
Great.
And that's
Which I promised you, right?
Yeah, so I met my milestones. I worked hard. I was doing 7 days a week, literally, right? Because the weekend, there was Thursday, Friday. So I'm doing deals now and transactions in the UK, Indonesia, Malaysia, or everywhere. So whilst it's my weekend, Thursday, Friday, London's open, the States is open, so I'm working. And then Saturday, when the whole world is off, it's office day for me in Saudi Arabia because, so it was mad. It was madness. I was doing off work 4 a.m., 5, not going home certain nights, showering in the office, all of that sort of stuff.
Did that have a knock-on effect on your family life?
This is where the sacrifice comes in, right? So 100% it did. And this is why, I always weigh it up, even now. So I'm on my own now in Dubai. I have been on the 5, my family's here. So I'm not going to say what I'm doing is right, and I would never knock anyone who says, "You know what you're doing isn't worth it, and you're doing it for the wrong reason." Everyone's going to have their view. I'm doing what I think is best in my circumstances, but it has a massive effect because, again, my boys, bless them, they're different. Boys are different than girls, right? I've got 3 boys and a girl. When I come home from work, when the kids were younger, late, the kids just want, if they're awake, they'll jump on you, they'll wrestle with you, and I'm like, I enjoy that. You do it, and it's like, go away now. I can be quite tough with them, and just go and, say to them, I'll put them to bed. I don't want to do that. But you compromise on time with them. You compromise on open evenings and parents' evenings. I didn't do none of that. Don't miss them play football. I missed out on that, right? But again, I'm thinking they're boys. They'll deal with it. And with my daughter, that's who I really feel I've missed out on her, some of her, most precious years. Because she was, when she came back to the UK, 2017, she was what? She was 7, 8 years old, right? So for 5 years I've been away from her. Literally, I've been in Dubai, coming and going, but away. And even when I'm working, when she's 4 years old, right? I remember this. I'll never forget. It happened too many times, and it kills me when I think about it. But can you imagine? You've got a 4-year-old, right, at nursery. This is the weekend now. It's the weekend on a Saturday, and as I said, I'm working quite a lot. Work from home, not in the office, but working. And I'm doing what I'm doing, and my daughter, bless her, she'll come up to me and sort of, Daddy, look what I made for you, and it's a picture of me. I'm like, not now, I'm busy. You don't realize it at the time, but as your kids get older and as I get older, and you realize, actually, you know what? There is more to life perhaps than work, and I missed out on this. That hurts me. And my kids always pull me up on this as well. So, we had a sort of a first holiday for God knows how many years. Once we start making a bit of, we can afford a proper holiday. So we went to Malaysia, nice. Right? We went to Langkawi, a lovely place, and what was I doing? I was working all throughout. And I was like, this is just normal, right? But my kids are they're a bit older now. We've a first proper family holiday. And what's Dad? He's on calls. He's on, so that's the sacrifice, right? Now I'm on my own. I've been on my own in Dubai, in the Middle East for 5 years. They came back 2017. I don't see as much of them. That's the sacrifice I make, right? In terms of doing what I do. I miss out on being with my family, my wife and kids. My parents are, the elderly, right? And in our culture, it's son's got a lot of responsibilities, and I don't shirk away from them. And I've, bless them. I've said, come and live with me, and they're happy where they are. And it's tough, they're getting older as well. So that plays on my mind a lot. That's a sacrifice. And again, someone could say to me, "Oh, did you idiot, give it all up? You should be at home." Yeah. And I can't argue with that, But you do what you think is right, and sometimes circumstances dictate, right? Because I've been in the Middle East now for so long. Even if I wanted to come to the UK, I can't afford not to work. What would I do here? Do you know what I mean? So,
what is your why for being out there? Because obviously you're partner in the firm. You can, judging by your experience and stuff that you've got.
Yeah.
Coming back here, maybe starting your own firm and doing something. Yeah. What is your why for saying that in Saudi Arabia?
So again, look, I've got to admit, right? I enjoy what I do.
Okay.
And if you don't enjoy, and if you're not passionate about what you do, I couldn't do what I'm doing, right? I couldn't be away from my family and living away and all of that. So I really enjoy what I do. But I think the main fact, if I'm absolutely honest, is, as you start to earn more, you start to spend more, you start to acquire things, which means, or do things, which means you've got more financial obligations, right? So, for someone who was living with mum and dad for a long time to buying a first house, then sort of, upgrading and then upgrading in, that's not cash. I've got a mortgage, I've got to pay it off. And if I come back to the UK, it's going to hurt me. Can I pay off the mortgage as quickly as I want to? I can't, So financially, I've got to be out there because I've got obligations. And, I'll give you another example, like schooling and university costs, right? For me, and I was asked this question, does money buy success? Does money buy happiness? I beg your pardon. And I don't need money to be happy. So in Dubai, I'm in a 1-bedroom flat. I drive an 11-year-old Toyota. I'm not about that design. It's not me. It's not me. But what being in the Middle East and on that sort of tax-free earning, it allows me to buy a house that my wife is, a dream house for my wife, for example. I can educate my kids and give them the best education. Rather than having that 100 grand car or whatever, I'd rather spend that on my kids' education. So I've got a son in Spain doing dentistry, right? He wanted to go to Spain. If I didn't have that, if I wasn't out there, I couldn't afford to do that perhaps, So my why is just making sure I'm setting up keeping my, and this is the way it conflicts as well, because, I say keep my wife happy, give her the house she wants, but I'm not there. So she's not really that happy. It's not a fulfilling experience because I'm not there, for my kids. I want to set them up because it's hard now, man, for kids, even with the education, even with whatever field you're in, it's so hard for them. How are they going to, and maybe I overthink about where they're going to buy, how are they going to, and I don't want to put it on the plate for them, don't get me wrong, but I just want to give, so when we bought our house recently, it was like, kids are going to get married, where are they going to go? I don't want them renting out. Do they want to rent out? And it's like, just get a place where if they want to stay with us, like I stayed with my mum and dad for 8 years, you know, in a 3-bedroom terrace. Now they can stay if they want to, you know. So it's just my wife is trying to set my family up and my kids up so that they're not wanting. And God forbid, if they don't quite make it, then they've always got a roof over their head where they can be comfortable with their spouses if they choose to stay. And I and my wife can have our privacy, you know. So that's the why. But again, it's so difficult because, you know, again, you might be thinking, Terry, you might say to me, yeah, that's fine, Adil, but you're not there with them. You know, that's
it's down to personal preferences, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And there's no right or wrong. I'm
no
just
right or wrong.
doing what I think is the right thing to do. And someone might say to me, Adil, that's just stupid. I'd rather live in a cardboard box and at least I'm with my wife and kids all the time. And I respect that. And that's the thing, you know, we talk about, you know, having good people around you and all that. People will advise. And I say to my kids as well, I advise my kids, but I let them make their own decisions and choices. And if they make the wrong choice, that's down to them and good luck, because you fall and you rise stronger. What you should never do is accept advice, believing in your heart that, no, I don't want to do it. I'm just doing it because whether it's dad's told me or my friends told me this. Listen and take advice from people who you trust and you respect, but ultimately do your own thing. And I'm just doing my own thing, right or wrong. You know, I'm comfortable with it. I've accepted it. I think my family's accepted it. It's working for us. It's not ideal, but you just try to make the best of what it is. So, you know, I'm never going to complain about and moan about, I'm on my own, it's so depressing, you know, I've got to do it. No, I've chosen this. I've chosen this way, and, you know, I make the most of the situation we're in. So if I'm in Dubai, and I'll work hard, make the most of being there on my own, take advantage of connecting, you know, going to the mosque, doing things that I enjoy, and rather than moaning and being depressed. And when I'm at home, I'll make the most of my time at home. I'm not one of those guys who are always going to moan and complain about things that I'm actually got some control over. It's not me.
It's fun. Legal blows.
Yes.
This is a project that's really interesting. You told me a little bit about it off air. Please tell us more about Legal Blows, man.
Yeah, so look, Legal Blows probably stems from me being a lawyer, so the legal bit, and blows boxing, right? So I'm passionate about law and boxing as well. I mentioned football.
Great name.
Thank you, thank you. A lot of people said that. It's funny. I don't know how it came up, but it just came up. But it stems from a passion in boxing, right? So I mentioned football. I'm a big Liverpool fan, right?
Sorry about that.
Yeah. What's your team?
Arsenal.
I'm sorry as well for you this year.
Yeah, don't really. That's a sore subject for both.
You know
of us,
what?
right?
I've got a lot of time for us. At least you've got pedigree and culture, right? Not like the Man City's out there and the Chelsea's out there. So anyway, football and boxing were the two main things for me, right? Growing up, and you know, with boxing, it was, I mentioned, Muhammad Ali. Didn't ever see him fight. It was past my, I was too young. He'd done his thing there, but we all grew up knowing who Muhammad Ali was. Still, right? Everybody knows him, right? Boxing fan or not boxing fan. But for me, as a young teenager, if you like, you had Naseem Hamid. For me, was like just the complete package, right? Entertainer, elite boxer, true to his roots in terms of religion, and proclaiming that, not being embarrassed, showing that someone who's of colour can make it. And, he was, I think, the first one, British kid as well, young kid, So that he was an inspiration, and I loved watching him fight. And then, Amir as well, Amir Khan, right?
Brilliant. We spoke about him before, didn't we?
Yeah, look, I mean, and we'll talk about, the recent experience with him, but this was a kid, 17 years old, wasn't meant to go to the Olympics, fought tooth and nail. I think he was going to go for Pakistan. It would have ended up fighting for Pakistan. Then he got the call and he fought for GB, come back with a silver medal, beaten the best amateur boxer, that Cuban guy, I can't remember his name, but yeah. And then I went on to actually beat him afterwards as well, I think. But 17 years old, come back, with a medal, brilliant. And then just seeing him fight, man, he was electric. I think he won his world title at 22.
22, yeah, he beat the Ukrainian guy
right
out over there. First time I heard Amir Khan, I just want to touch base on this, is he came down to Portsmouth.
Okay.
Portsmouth, we've got the Royal Navy and stuff here. So we had a coach who my dad was coaching the Royal Navy at the time, alongside the full-time Navy coach. And I did some training with him as a 16-year-old.
Oh, wow, okay.
Went some training, and they said, Terry, this guy, Asian, they were like, this Asian kid, looks like you, come down here. I was like, oh, okay. They said he beat everyone up.
Yeah.
He beat everyone up. And he said, what's his name? He says, Amir Khan.
Right.
This is a Navy squad that train
Yeah.
full-time
Yeah.
amateurs. Funny enough, a month later, he was in the Olympics.
Okay.
And then we talked about how he inspired like a whole
Yeah.
generation through that. It was crazy.
It
Absolute
is. You know
crazy.
what? And again, yourself being in the boxing game and your father being, you will understand the benefit he's had for the community and Asian boxers coming up, right? I can't speak to that because I'm not a boxer and I'm not in the game. What I do speak about as a fan, right? I'm a complete fan, but I've told him to his face. I was like, yeah, when I met him, he had everybody on the edge of their seats, every fight. You right? And I said to him, and probably everyone who sees him says this to him, but every time he took a blow, we were all taking it with him. We were all feeling those blows, and sort of that, we were talking about the Maidana fight, right?
What a
I've seen
fight,
that about
yeah.
1 million times. That body shot, and you thought it's all over.
First round, yeah.
And then you're thinking it's all, and then you look at what happened in the 10th. And I mean, you tell me, right, even when he was hit, there was no quitting him. Even the Prescott fight, right? When he got up, he was ready. He was, when the ref called, he's like, what the hell? This guy is, fought everyone, never quit in any fight, and just excited everyone, right? So, and he did. I think he has. I would, not as a fighter, but I think he's inspired a whole generation of fighters. So brilliant. A lot of respect and love for him. So that was the sort of, grew up with that. And then more recently, again, I'm a real content junkie. I watch a lot of boxing. I watch YouTube podcasts and clips in, pre-fight, post-fight, all of this. And then I sort of stumble across Hamzah, right? Hamzah Sheeraz.
Yeah.
Who's
middleweight boxer, right?
Yeah, 6'3", tall guy, and tall for the division, I think, right? He's the most 160 pounds. They're a bit, not as tall, right?
Yeah, man.
And I see him, and he's got this piston-like jab, and and he's doing good. And I thought, okay. Then I see some of his content on interviews and podcasts, and he just came across as a really well-spoken, humble guy who's true to himself. So, saying things like, it's all down to God, I'm blessed to have this and that. Not overplaying how good he is and all. He just, really humble sort of a guy. And I just thought to myself, I'm going to reach out to him, and I wasn't on social media before Legal Blows, but I had an account which only my wife and kids, were my friends on that, because I put on all sorts of things that I don't want anyone else to see.
Course, yeah.
But I sent him a message saying, Hamzah, watch you fight. I think you're really good, based in the Middle East. I've got a few contacts and relationships, maybe some business opportunities for you. Love to, discuss further if you're up for it. Something along those lines. I was half thinking I'm just going to get ignored, right? I mean, why is Hamzah going to, some really good fighter reaching this high level now? Why is he going to respond to me? I'm nobody. And next day I get a reply. I found out afterwards it was his sister. I got a reply saying, "Thanks for your message. Cameron Sheeraz," who I found out was his father afterwards, "will call you." So I gave him my number. Cameron called me. We had a good chat over the phone, and I said, "Why don't you come over?" And then 2 days later he came over. He lives in East London. I'm about an hour and a half away. He came over. Could have just thought, who's this guy? I was like, bring Hamzah. And he's like, Hamzah's not covered yet. So I was like, okay, But he came just trying to, I think, see what I was about. And I think any parent, any father who's loves their child will do that, right? Because that could have been a complete waste of time talking pie in the sky stuff. But as a father, I understood why he did it. And he told me afterwards, he wants the best for his son, right? And if I've said I can help, he's not going to just let that go. He's going to see if there's any substance behind it. And even if I was a complete fraudster, complete joker, he's done it. At least he could tick it off and say, you know what? Yeah, I've found out.
Choice.
He didn't miss an opportunity because who's this guy? I don't know him. I'm not going to waste my time. He actually took the time and effort because of the love of his son, trying to do the best for him. And he took time just to see what I was about. Yeah. So anyway, he came over. We had a really good discussion. He was going to be in Dubai a week or two later, and I was heading back to Dubai. I was in the UK at this stage just for a week or so. Anyway, he came to Dubai. We started talking, introduced a few people, started telling me what I'm about, and I just said, I want to help, and we started building up a rapport, and then Hamzah, I spoke to him for the first time when I was in Dubai over a Zoom call, and it was crazy because I was speaking with Kamran now, his dad, and he said, "Hey, Hamzah's here. Why don't you say hello?" So I was like, do my hair and everything, make sure I'm not completely starstruck. And Hamzah's like, something. I was like, hello, basically, right? And he's just looking at me. as if he's a steer or foremost, right? And I'm like, yeah, my name's Adil, I'm trying to help. And I'm just getting this. And I thought, okay, right, I'll give it back to your dad, man. I sort of like thinking he doesn't like me. I'm just, I got a bit scared almost, like, damn. But that's because, he's probably met so many people who, we want to do this, we're going to do that. And I've always, even the first time I said, when I met Cam, I said, look, I'm not promising anything. I can't do anything, but other than it, make some introductions and see where it goes. I'm not going to say I'm going to do this and I'm going to bring this money in, or no, I'm just going to say, this is who I know, and I'll introduce you and we have some, see where it goes, And I know, having spoken to them now, that loads of people will come to fighters, athletes, and say, hey, man, you need £1 million, you need £2 million, you need this, you need that. And then they don't deliver, they all talk, So I get where he was coming from. But anyway, after that, so we had a few good meetings, nothing really came of it. And then I went, I found out that these guys, Hamzah and his friends and Kamran, were going to Saudi for pilgrimage, what we call Umrah. And big some in the Middle East, I said to them, can I come along as well? And bless them. They said, yeah, come, of course you can. Right. So I went down, and that's when I first met Hamzah, spent a bit of time with him, got to know him a bit. But it's pilgrimage, right? So everyone's focused on prayers and stuff as well. But I honestly, during that trip, I became emotionally invested in Hamzah, where I thought, such a nice kid. And his friends as well, by the way, his friend and his dad, got to know them really well. You get to know someone when you do business with them and when you travel with them. And now it's a bit of both. But on the travel side, I've been with them. And, and sometimes, you see, whether it's from the Muslim community, Hindu community, Sikh community, people about clickbait, right? Take a picture next to a Gurdwara because it looks good, or next to him. And I know, and we'll come on to some of these other fights, but with Hamzah and his friends, I did my thing, and I was knackered. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to hotel, relaxing. And these guys were on it, doing their prayers, up, down, left, running around, doing their utmost and getting into that zone. And I just had so much respect for him, and they showed me a lot of love, made sure I was eating well, paying for my food. If we're in a car, Hamzah is a lot taller than me, right? And we're going to do a 4-hour drive in going from Mecca to Medina. And Hamzah's like, no, you sit at the front. I'm like, no, man, I'll sit at the back. You sit at the... No. And I just thought, well, that I really took that on board as someone who's just grounded. He could have said, who are you, man? I'm sitting at the front in my car. I've arranged it, but just such a humble kid. Showed me a lot of love, a lot of respect. And that's just relationship developed. So that's when, got involved in Hamzah. And then as I got more into it, what I started to find out, and, other fighters now are getting in touch as well, because Kamran and, Taz, who's Amir's uncle, is, helps Hamzah as well as part of the team Sheeraz. I've started to speak with Taz, and Taz says, oh, this fighter, needs a bit of help and with this contract or that. So I'm getting exposure now to some contracts that fighters enter into. Yeah. And I quickly realized that I think fighters are getting a bad deal, or not the best deal, and the contracts aren't that great from a fighter's perspective. So Legal Blows stemmed from that. We set up an Insta page, which my son Taha helps run, and it was trying to educate fighters, right, about contracts, about what they're signing, and being aware of these sorts of things. And then slowly, we just started getting more traction. Some fighters started following, and I'm started speaking to a number of fighters now, right? Yeah. And that's what Legal Blows is essentially, right? At the moment, it's a page where, an Instagram page where I will put out content to help and support fighters, whether it's on contractual issues, business issues, sometimes using that small platform that it is to give a shout out to a fighter. If they're fighting, share it on the page, right. Show them some love and encouragement and support, because our community, we talked about, I don't think there's enough of it. We don't get behind our own, right? And it's a tough place anyway. So let's all just rally around each other. If I'm, following someone, why can't I put a comment and say, good luck, champ? Awesome business, put something just to give them a boost, and a bit of encouragement. That's the least we can do, right? So that's where Legal Blows comes from. And as I said, I've spoken to some wonderful, wonderful fighters and people.
What sort of fighters have you spoken with?
So I've spoken with Akib Fiaz, I'm going to see him fight on Saturday.
Is he with Ben Davidson?
No, I forget the name of his coach, and he's signed up with Eddie. and I forget the name of his coach.
Okay.
But I think he's 11-0, really good kid, excellent fighter, but a really good kid as well, right? So
Where's he based?
where is he? He's in Manchester.
Oh, okay.
He's in Manchester, yeah.
Oh, I wonder if he's with I forgot his name now. The southpaw boxer, bald-headed guy.
Yeah, I forget. He's told me so much, but I forgot.
I'll remember in a second.
But
yeah,
speak a lot. I really like Aki. We speak a lot. Jamie Moore. I think you're right. I think it is. It's really good. His brother was on TV the other day with the fight in Ireland with Katie Taylor.
Yes.
His brother Asim was part of the.
Oh, he's part of the team
of the other
Chantal Cameron's.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So same sort of gym. So he's really good. Speak with him. And he's Taj. Spoke a lot with him. He's fought Vidal Ridley. Before he's got a rematch coming up as well. So
yes, I know which one you mean.
Robbie Davies.
Oh, great guy. Robbie Davies, yeah.
Jermaine Franklin. We had chats with him.
Yeah. Okay.
Sajid Abid, who just recently fought as well. Dylan Cheema,
good guy.
Gosh, and the list goes. There's a number, and I forget all.
Gully, I think.
Gully, we've had exchanges with him. I haven't spoken to him, but we've had exchanges, and again, just reaching out, and that's what it's about. Sometimes fighters are reaching out to me now and saying, "Oh, what's Legal Blows about?" And so we had a call yesterday with a chap from fighter who's 1-0 from Blackburn. Spent half an hour just telling him what we're about and saying, "Listen, if you need anything, I'm here. Right, we're here to help and support."
Do you manage fighters as well that you're looking to do? Is it just
from my side? Look, I know law, I know contracts, right? So give me any contract and I can draft it, I can negotiate it. On the management side of boxing and, whether that's matchmaking, that's not me, that's Taz.
So is Taz part of the Legal Blows
Yeah,
team?
absolutely. So Taz and Cam, Hamzah's father, all part of it. And I've said before, without Hamzah, there's no Legal Blows. There isn't, because he's given me the little bit of credibility. He's given me that credibility. I've learning the game from himself. He's given me the opportunity to work with him. And then when you've got Taz and Cam who know boxing, I mean, I thought I was quite knowledgeable about boxing as a fan, right? And you can analyze it. These guys look at boxing in a different way.
Yeah.
Fighters in a different way. Not only from a tactical, how good they are, but from how they are mentally, what they're about from a personal perspective and, different sort of things. So Legal Blows, at the moment, if I'm honest, right, it's about showing some support and love to fight. That's what I'm doing. Hopefully this will snowball into something bigger. And Taz calls it, we want this to be a one-stop shop. So I reached out to Dylan, funnily enough. He was introduced to me by an outfit who help in getting medical insurance for fighters. And they helped Dylan get his insurance. And they said to him, why don't you speak with Adil? He's Legal Blows thing, and we're doing a lot with it's called Bespoke Elite Protection. Really good guys, and just any fighter who needs medical insurance, I speak to them. They're really good guys. It's that sort of thing. And that's when I had a chat with Dylan, and it was a really interesting chat. And I'll talk, if I may, just spend a couple of minutes on it. So, on the outside, right, you see, as a fan, you see these boxers and you think, they're all going to be up. And so you see some of the Insta pages and, they're a bit flashy maybe or whatever in all of this. And I've met every single, they're the most humble, down-to-earth, nicest people. All of them, from Robbie Dave, Dylan, Hamzah, obviously, and Amir and Naseem Hamid, who I've met as well now. Lovely, lovely people. And, when we started speaking to Dylan, he was just asking about what I'm about, what we're doing. And he was telling me about, how the Sikh community in Leicester, I believe, right? He's from Leicester.
No, he's from Birmingham. Coventry way, yeah.
Okay,
Coventry.
Sorry, he's Coventry, up Midland somewhere, right? But just how the community just got behind him. And, another outfit who helped with sponsorship, they were saying how the community are helping him and how he's inspiring his community. And we were having a chat about this, right? Look, I'm a Muslim, I'm a proud Muslim, right? Don't impose my way on anyone else. We respect everyone. But naturally, Muslims will draw maybe towards me because they can relate. Pakistanis will draw towards because we can relate. They can relate to me. I think Dylan's having that impact, and he hasn't told me this, but I just see some of this post, and you see the community rallying behind their own, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I think Gully, who I see his post now, following him, and he had a picture in the Gurdwara now, and I think respect, man, because
what I've got from those two, Gully and Dylan, obviously, I've met Gully once, but I've met Dylan a few times, is they put a lot of their success is down to faith.
Yeah.
And they know that You see pictures of them regularly going to in our is the Gurdwara.
Gurdwara, yeah.
The reason go there and praying and you know, and I respect that so much about them. When I spoke to them, and I've met them, humble guys.
Yeah.
Both of them, really, really good guys, and hopefully they go quite far.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I know again from the exchange I've had with Gully, right? I think he's obviously not as experienced as Dylan from his. But he's a confident kid, and you see some of his footage, right? And you know what? I've said, personally, I say I can't wait. I'm really going to look out for this kid with interest because I think there's something about him, you know. So fingers crossed they go. Both of them achieve all of their dreams and go on to big things. All we can do is help and support, right? Even if it's a little thumbs up or a heart on one of their, that's support. And ideally, want to go and watch them fight and all of that. But so it's spoken to so many of these fighters and just trying to help. Ultimately, where legal blows will end up, like when them, Taz has got some really fantastic ideas. We want to help and be this one-stop shop where if a fighter needs. We know who to team them up with. If they need a nutritionist, Taz and his Cam's contacts. We can put them together with the best nutritionist, physios, medical side of things. Maybe managing, promoting as well. And that's, again, Taz's game, right? What do I know about that? That's him. And with the fighters now that we're sort of helping, it's not about, for me at this stage, making money, right? This is a complete passion project. I've got my day job. I love doing what I do. It's about showing some love and support. That's it. And encouraging. There's so many haters out there. There's so many people just who want to knock everyone down.
Have you experienced that already?
No,
or is it more the boxer side?
I think it's both. Right? I mean, again, is it an Asian thing? You tell me, Terry, right? What I find in what I've seen sometimes in our communities, up and out, right? And one of our kids, if he's, or girls, doing well, it's like, circles, they ain't that good. Oh, if he comes up again. And we're always negative, and it drives me mad. We don't rally behind. I say, if you've got nothing good to say, don't say anything. So I haven't seen it with the boxers, but we're quick, I think, as a community to knock people and criticise.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of that. I reached a couple of national finals, all boxed around, boxing England around the world. Didn't get support from the community, not from anyone.
Yeah.
But this was 7-8 years ago, right? Now we're seeing more support behind the community and stuff. So.
But that's because and also like, look, I know what you do in the community, and that helps educate, right, everybody. And if you're helping, you're spending time with Dylan, and it's now you're building that community, right? And I think this is what a lot of Legal Blows is about: building a community and a support network for those who need it, and encouraging, because the fighters, I'm sure, you're going to get haters, right? I say ignore them, man. You're never going to please everyone. Do your thing. Take advice from those who you respect, but ultimately make your own decision. So as a lawyer, when I look at, something for Hamzah, for example, I can give a view and I can tell him my thoughts, right? And give advice. But ultimately, it's for Hamzah and his dad to say, right, okay, we want to do this or we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make the. Who am I? They're the boss. They're the whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The fighter's got to be in charge all the time, right? So on my side, I've got, again, as I said, not a huge. I haven't been doing this for a long time, but people already said to me, "Adil, what you're doing? You're wasting your time. There's no money with the fight. You want to work with the promoters?" And I'm like, I'm not doing it for that, and I'm not going to pretend to be someone who I'm not. I'm not going to always be slick suit, I'm not about that. I am who I am. It's got me pretty far in my legal career and on the boxing side and Legal Blows, I'm not going to change who I am. Sorry. I'm not going to start speaking with a stiff upper lip or pretending and being pretentious. And it's just me. What you see on the Insta page is really me with my chickens and in the masjid or in the mosque or doing what I'm doing, messing around, fooling around. Because that's a part of my personality. You're going to get haters, just ignore them and do your own thing.
Yeah, man. Well, the good thing about boxing is it's a working class sport. We spoke about this before, innit?
Yeah.
Completely different. A lot of sharks, I would say, in the field when you get there, but which I guess you probably experience in legal firms as well. But it's a working man sort of sport, I would say. As well.
100%. And I was asking, you're going to work with, Joshua? And I'm like, no, I'm not. They can afford proper legal advice. So on the grassroots level, if you look at the kids who are coming up, we spoke about this, Amir, for example, even Nassim, even, pretty much every single boxer I know, no one's come from a family or background where they've been from that privilege, afford everything, have what they want, right? Everyone's grinded, worked hard. And that's why maybe I respect it as well because I've done and I've seen the hustle. You know, whatever profession you're in, I came from, as I said, East London. Dad worked for Ford State School, just worked in, I would like to think incredibly hard to get to where I am. And it's the same with these fighters, right?
Yeah.
So this is it. And what's really good fighters, right? But if they haven't got a support network, or if they haven't got someone looking over certain things for them, it may just pull them back, and they can't. I mean, a young fighter, right, who's rising up, are they going to pay for legal advice? They're not. It's not money well spent, probably. You know, they can't afford that, if I can call it a luxury, to get proper advice. And this is where Legal Blow sort of comes and says, listen, we're not, you know, I'm not going to say I'm the best lawyer in the world, but with the team we've got, and Taz and Cam are a huge part of that, and Hamzah as well, because he bless him, he gives a lot back to the community, educates me on the boxing side and what's norm and what isn't. That we can pass on and help if it's required or needed, you know. And that's what we want to do, really, you know, just help. And look, if any of these fighters who we're speaking with now, who are 11-0, 7-0, and what come up and they become the next superstars, then there's a conversation to be had, right? If they need more help and support, and I'm a few years older, and I'm like, you know what, I can give up the day job now and let me work with these fighters. And look, now we come to a commercial agreement and we get paid for what we do because they can afford to pay at that stage. And if they're not going to pay Legal Blows, they would pay another advisor, you know. But at the moment, it's not about that. It's only if they get to a certain stage and they would like us to help, and it means more than a couple of hours of my time. We're talking about negotiating big contracts, big TV deals, big sponsorship, endorsement deals. That takes a lot of work and time and effort, and then it's probably only fair to get some money, but not at this stage where the kids are ready.
So it's quite interesting. So at the moment, you're happy to talk to fighters about any legal advice that they need, who's, as you said, 7-0, 11-0, and offer free advice to them.
Yeah, that's me. I'll probably get killed from Taz and Cam about that, but this is what it's about for us, honestly, now, right? Because, you know, you could be 30-0. If you come to me honestly, right, and said, Adil, you know, we've got this issue, I'll give you a view. If you send me a contract, I will look at it and I'll tell you my views. And I'm not going to charge for that because it's an hour of my time, it's 2 hours of my time. If someone who's, I don't know, I don't want to mention names, but let's just say it's a world championship fight or someone who's made it.
Yeah,
I'm talking in the millions now, right? Not even tens or hundreds, in the millions almost, and says, we need you to negotiate this. And it's going to take a week or two. Then I want to be compensated because they can afford it and it's proper work. But if a same boxer, world championship boxer, says, we've got this issue, and can you look at this? I'll do it, man. I'm not in it for, if I can help quickly, I'll help, no problem.
And boxers are generally quite loyal people, generally. If you help them out on their way up, you generally like to think, especially within the Asian community, I think that they'll then, when they've made it, they would say, yo, Adil, please help me with this now.
Yeah.
You want me to get involved. But it's all about, not just about you rising, it's about rising
bringing everyone up, right?
And
it's also with these fighters that are really, some of the ones that you get close to is because they're good kids and you see something about them, right? And it's about having, maybe not role models is maybe too strong of a term to use, but creating fighters from the community who are going to go up and be true to who they are and be focused, elite sports people, athletes, when they could be lawyers or whatever, but just being true to who you are and not messing around, not getting distracted. You're setting an example, right, for the younger generation. So, my kids are too old and they didn't have the ability, but grandchildren, right? I want them to be looking up to your Dylans, your Hamzahs and, Akibs of this world and saying, look, you can be a boxer. And if you be a boxer, you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You can still be a Muslim, a Sikh, and go to the good. You don't need to change anything. Have some people that you can look up to in that world because, again, you'll know better than me, right? But from the outside, boxing seems like a dirty world. You hear about, Andy Ruiz, I should mention his name, but world champion, people who reach the top, make money, and then they're blowing it all. Partying, women, drugs, this, that, and the other, and they've got nothing to show for it. You don't want people like that who the younger generation look up to. You want to look up to people who make it to the top, invest their money, are sensible, are well-spoken, are educated, and giving back to the community, true to their culture, their faith. And that's what inspires, for me anyway. And look, someone could say that they get inspired by someone who's got a flashy car, flashy watch, and is partying. That's fine. But for me, that's not inspiration.
Yeah.
That's not what I would want my kids and my kids' kids to, aspire to.
Just one fight that comes to mind, and he gets a lot of stick for his losses or whatever, but he's I'm just going to say Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
He seems someone who speaks well, all those attributes.
Yeah.
He speaks well, invests his money well, has treated the game right.
Yeah.
He's had a few losses in recent times, but he's still making the money. He's still a big name, and he can still go into big fights.
Yeah.
That's someone who I think is someone that you want to look up to in terms of role model.
100%. And he's always sensible, right? You don't see him trash talk. I think the worst I've seen him trash talk was
After
the Miller fight. He had his thing after the Jermaine Miller, where he started talking about I'm living rent free, and your Miller said your mum this, your mum. And that's when Joshua gave it some back. But usually he's really respectful, even with his opponent, lets his fist do the talking. Look, he had that...
It's tough when someone talks about your family and stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to hold back, right? So, but you're right. He's one of those who he knows he's got audiences, right, across the globe. Millions of people, kids included. So he's going to do things the right way, and you've got to respect that. And boxing, I don't know, I haven't got the guts to step into the ring and
we
fight.
We can do it if you want.
No, not. I've seen signs. Look at your shape you're in. Look at the shape I'm in. I wouldn't even fight anyone. I wouldn't fight a 10-year-old, let alone you. But hats off to me. Boxing's a dangerous game, right? And you've got to respect Joshua for what he's done inside the ring. And I'm speaking as a fan here. I don't know him at all. He's fought everyone that's put in front of him. He's made money, right? I think he's kept still humble, invested it well, comes across really well, but all of that. So as you say, it's someone you think, that guy, man, he's something about him. Yeah. Winning and losing is part of the game. And at that elite level, you're going to, what do they say? You go and you take a swim, you're going to get wet, right? And he's hats off. He hasn't knocked a fight. And then you've got others like, again, Tyson Fury, right? Again, I don't know him. I speak as a fan here, right? I think he's the best heavyweight in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's lost so much credibility, in my eyes anyway. He ducked Joshua, I think, back in the day. But even when Joshua was... I think he didn't want that fight. Usyk, why isn't he fighting Usyk?
That's the one. That's the $1 million question.
Why aren't you fighting? Don't talk about... He was ready to accept a 30%. Yeah. Yes. So, as a fan, I'm speaking. Just make the fight happen. And the way Tyson comes across, again, I hope doesn't watch this and come after me. But he talks about mental health, right? He went through a dark place, right? And hats off to him. Kudos. He came back from a place where I didn't think he could come back from, the shape he was in, the drink. Yeah. So kudos, I respect that, as an individual, and he's, when he talks about mental health awareness, right? You've got to respect that. But then what I don't respect is when he goes into, when someone's had a defeat, when Josh, and lays it into them, kicking someone when they're down. What's all that about?
Yeah.
But Joshua's one, but you've got, there's so many others as well, right? You can,
I'm trying to think, but I think he's a standout one for me.
Yeah.
He's the one that, I'm trying to think of anyone else in that mould.
Yeah. He's probably, you probably could count them on one hand or less than it is on your fingers, right? Because he's done it at the highest level, and he hasn't seemed to have changed who he is fundamentally, and he's made a lot of money. Good luck to him.
Yeah, and I think what you said there, he takes advice from people as well. People diss him, like he listens to so many people, but you have to listen to and you, end of the day, you have to make a decision what's right for you. Yeah, but you have to take on as much advice as possible and choose what's right. You
know what it is? Again, you're in the game, right, Terry? Right. So when you're seeing fighters and you're coaching them as well, and you've seen it, you probably get everyone given a bit. So it's like me now, right? Who I'm a lawyer. I understand contracts, I understand boxing contracts, and I'm understanding the business side of boxing. Yeah. But if I said, right, Terry, I see you fight, I'll say, no, Terry, lead with your right, go southpaw, or slip and slide. You're going to think, what the hell? Yeah. So with Hamzah or anyone else, I don't know enough about boxing as a, and the training side or the coaching. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. If someone says this trainer is good or we need to fight this style, I'm like, okay, good for you. Who am I to say anything? If someone comments shows me a legal contract, I'm not going to say, God, that's what I do well, So but you get advice from the people, I think, who are in a position to give advice. So if you now, as a someone who's been involved in boxing for pretty much your whole life, right? You've been in the family, in the blood, right? You've worked with boxers. You're in a place to say, you know what? He should have done this, that, and the other. He was getting tagged to. He should have gone on the back. You've got credibility. But now, if I give you a promoter's contract, and you start to me, this is drafted wrong, I'm going to say, come on, man. And if I've got a different... So I'm not maybe going to listen to you when it comes to legal issues, 100%. But I will 100% listen to you in box. Similarly, I don't expect a boxer, and I would never dream of telling a boxer, why did you keep your hands down? Why were you showboating? Why were you doing this? I'm not in any position to do that, so I'll add value where I think I can add value. And the advice you accept from people is from those who are qualified to give it, because everyone's got something to say.
100%.
Everyone's got something to say.
Well said. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah, sure.
Misfits boxing. Such a big topic at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
It's an interesting one, right? So, shall I speak as a fan, someone's from the outside, right?
Yeah.
I'll speak from...
as a business point
as
of
a
view.
business point of view, it makes 100% business sense, and hats off to Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and KSI, right? They've got a following of millions, and they are selling out stadiums, pay-per-views. And what did Jake Paul make on the last one? 30 million?
30 million.
30 million, right? Hats off to them. You can't knock anyone. They saw a gap in the market or exploited a market with something different, right? And taken full advantage of their popularity and their following. So hats off to them. I think it's a good thing for entertainment. As a boxing fan and a purist fan, if you like, and if I was a boxer, I would be really annoyed. I'd be interested to get your views on this, right? Because as a boxer, I'm assuming someone who's been in boxing for maybe since the age of 9 or 10 or whatever, putting your, body through God knows what, getting to a stage, fighting, at high level, even becoming a world champion, even a multi-weight champion, even holding different belts.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid a fraction of what these YouTubers who can't really fight, in my humble opinion, they're not great, are they? They're not elite boxers, but they're making so much more money than you are.
Yeah.
So I can understand boxers, and a lot of them do, right? Say, come on, this ain't real boxing. And I would tend to agree, but it's bloody entertaining. That tag team stuff they were doing, that was hilarious, right? So, you see the crowd, they were buzzing, right? But as a purist, you think, well, then it's entertainment. I won't quite call it boxing.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff that I really hate. So I think it was last week where they had 2 really big lads in there.
Yeah, 400-pound massive. Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. There's a line. Don't cross it. That wasn't even entertainment.
The thing is that they haven't got a line.
Yeah,
it seems like they don't have. I'm not dissing it, but it seems.
Come on, I want to hear your views there, Terry, because it's you've seen the whole thing 360.
So at first, I was really against it. I had Louis Edmondson, who's managed by Billy Joe Saunders. He come and I was really against it because he had some people in his team who are part of that.
Okay.
Now I've seen it. I think instead of dissing it, let's learn from it. If these social media people are getting selling this many tickets, what can boxers learn from that?
100%.
Let's embrace it and see. Let's get our own profile out there. Let's not make stupid videos, but let's make content out there that people want to see and they can buy into us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%. And I think what really articulates that point perhaps is if you look at someone like Terence Crawford, pound for pound, right? One of the pound, brilliant. How many tickets does he sell? How many pay-per-views does he do? You can be the best boxer, but if you ain't got that X factor or something about you which doesn't attract people towards you, you ain't going to sell out crowds. You ain't going to sell pay-per-views, right? So as you said, if we're going to learn anything from the Misfits and this influencer side of boxing, it's you've got to have a following. You've got to be marketable. You've got to attract people towards you. Yeah. That doesn't mean by being, playing video games and recording yourself. That's what KSI and them lot started, I think, right?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
But you've got to have something about you. How are you going to get more popularity, more of a following, increase your social media? So it's lessons, isn't it? And then if you've got the skills and you're moving up and you've got the popularity, then you are a Canelo and whatever, and and you're competing in the same way, aren't you?
Yeah. So that's my take on it. It's good
Yeah.
to get your take
Yeah.
on it as well. So, yeah, I think it's not going away. I think it's here to stay. I think it is here to stay. They've got like a 5-year contract or whatever with Daz.
Wow, okay.
So
It's a lot of money, right? And I'm sure that contract, it seems to be popular, right?
yeah,
It's getting more eyes on boxing as well.
that's the other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is another question, if I may, right? So, we talk about this next generation of boxers, right? Inspiring and being sort of role models, or, someone that younger fighters can aspire to. Influencers will draw more attention to boxing, 100%. But you tell me, right? Is KSI or Jake Paul going to inspire a young boy or girl to take up boxing, to be an elite athlete? Are they going to inspire in that way? Are they going to create the next generation of boxers? Or is it going to be your Hamzah Sheeraz's, Akif's, Dylan's and Gully's, who are on it 100% serious?
Yeah.
Where are the boxers going to come from?
It's really interesting. I guess only time would tell. But if they're having so many eyes on them, so many young people watching them, because it is a young audience that watches them.
Yeah.
Surely that's going to inspire 1, 2, potentially 1 or 2 kids to take up the sport.
Yeah.
If it does, then, what better way? And, Jake Paul's doing this boxing bully stuff. He's got this sort of stuff.
Yeah, hats off to,
They're doing some good stuff in the sport.
100%.
We need to look at that. There's some bad stuff going on with it as well.
Yeah.
But that's in everything that happens, isn't it? Unfortunately. But
100%.
we take the good and bad with it. But, Adil, thank you very much for coming in.
No, pleasure.
It's
Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. It's really been really great to find out a little bit more about you and your goals and plans going forward. I'm going to particularly follow your journey. I'm sure everyone else watching will follow your journey. Is there anything else you want to say before we finish off?
No, just a big thank you for having me.
My
It's
pleasure.
always good to be back in Portsmouth. Got to hit the
man.
beach after. It's a lovely day for it.
Yeah, man.
But no, thank you so much, and wish you all the best as well. We'll be keeping an eye on your future podcasts as well, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Adil. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, everyone, guys. Cheers.